Hello my dear friends, you're on the Military Summary channel, and today we will discuss the situation in Ukraine on the 25th of August. Today we have some updates, so let's start. First we're going to discuss the report of Ministry of Defense of Russian Federation. They gave us new numbers, and that was the first day when the Russians didn't talk about the brigades. They were talking about some areas and so on. This is very interesting. According to the Russian report, there is a small railroad station that's located on the east side from Dnipro and Zaporozhye. This one, Chipilina. This is a very big railroad station, and not just railroad, just a regular road. It's some kind of logistics center. And the Russians attacked this area with the rocket, and as a result of that attack, the losses of Ukrainians is around 200 soldiers and 10 armored vehicles. The official Ukrainian authorities are saying that there were just 15 losses, but among civilians. Later we got pictures and video from this area where there was a big train, a lot of cargo, a lot of armored vehicles, and so on. Another important update are coming from the north of Nikolaev and from the west from Kryvyi Rog. Novy, small town Novy, as you can see, also very far from the front line. And as a result of that attack, the Russians attacked Kakhovka group forces, and this group lost around 64 soldiers and 7 armored vehicles. Another important updates are coming from the town on the north from Mirgorod. As you can see also, this town is very far from the front line. As a result of that attack, the forces in Mirgorod lost around 30 soldiers, and also the Ukraine lost around few airplanes, aircraft forces, a few Su-27, Su-24. Also, there was another attack in the town by the name of Dnipro. The Ukraine lost also somewhere around 3 airplanes in this area. If we are talking about this airplane situation, today we got a very interesting update from the Ukrainian military authorities. According to their numbers, the Russians moved around 750 aircrafts, including helicopters. Air units including helicopters. So there are around 400 aircrafts and more than 300 and 500 of helicopters, including 150 attack helicopters like Ka-52. The Ukrainian military authorities didn't tell where exactly the Russians move all these air forces, and it's very interesting because if there are around 350 helicopters and where 150 is attack helicopters, that means that somewhere on the front line near the Ukrainian border is around 200 of marine helicopters that can move, let's say, infantry, or who can move air assault forces and so on. And if we are talking about the Russian helicopters who can bring like infantry or like marines and so on, their helicopters like Mi-24 are able to move something around 84 soldiers, 84 units. So that means if there are somewhere 200 of helicopters that can bring more than 84 units per one helicopter, that means that the Russians are able to move at the same time something around 16,000 soldiers. And this is very interesting update because I don't think that the Russians want to repeat Gostomel operation one more time near Gostomel. But as you can see, the front line is a little bit stable and there is no movements on the front line at all. The Russians are trying to reduce the Ukrainians on the front line, but they're not moving. I'm not saying that the Russians are losing or something like this, no. The Ukrainians are prepared very stable, even very powerful fortified area, fortified position. And it's very difficult to crack them, and if the Russians even crack some group of forces, the Ukrainians bring more and more fresh forces. And it's very difficult for the Russians to pass this area. Furthermore, today we got update from the Russian sources map. As you can see, the town by the name of Grigorievka, near Serebryanka, has been marked as the town under Ukrainian control. This town, according to this map, used to be under Russian control, but for now this map has been updated, and now we see that this town is under Ukrainians. There is no movements on the front line. The only thing we got is that few sources were saying that something interesting is happening around Nikolaev. If you remember, a few days ago there was an update that the Russians took Alexandrovka and their prepared bridgehead or to attack a small town, Golitsynova. But to do this, first they need to pass Lupa River and Limany, and then they will be able to attack Golitsynova, and Golitsynova is the south and the suburbs of Nikolaev. Also, there are very heavy clashes around Posad Pokrovskaya, and the Russians are pushing and cracking this area, but anyway, if there is a progress, we can count progress per few kilometers per day. And to tell the truth, on this area, this is not much. There are a lot of success. The Russians achieved a lot of success on the line, on the road between Snegirivka and Nikolaev. If you remember, they established control of Blagodatne, and now the Russians are trying to storm Partizanskaya. They tried to establish control over the local road, not local, it's Republican road. This one, if you take a look at the Western sources map, they want to take control over this road, this one, gray one, and using this road they want to speed up their offensive operation in direction of Nikolaev. And today we got updates from this area that the Russians are shelling heavily the line between Kiselyovka, Zasilye, Pervomaiskoye, Belozorka, this area. They're trying to shell, to fix the Ukrainians, to pin them down, and to take control. With help of this, they want to take control over small towns around this road, like Partizanskaya, Lyubine, Shiroka, because the Ukrainians are not able to help them because they're pinned down by the Russians. But anyway, the front line is stable. Some Russian sources, military experts from the ground on this area, are saying that Ukrainians they changed their tactic and they started active type of defense. So what does it mean? If the Russians attack on one front line, the Ukrainians start trying to counter offense on other front line. So from the area from Uglidar till Avdiivka, all this area, while the Russians are attacking one place, the Ukrainians are trying to attack in another place. Of course, according to the Russian sources, the Ukrainians have a lot of losses, and all the time they're defeated, and they couldn't return any territory that was taken by the Russian in the previous. So as you can see, the front line is stable. Today there was a meeting in Duma, in Russian parliament, and they made some ultimatum to the Ukraine, trying to stop their shelling, because as you know, today this power plant, first we got update, this power plant was shut down entirely, all in power plant. Later we got update that just few blocks of this power plant were shut down. But anyway, this is a small note, this is a small bell from the side that the situation there is critical. But anyway, the Russians are not able, they are able, but it will take time, a lot of time, to crack this defense line. So now let's talk one more time about these helicopters, about this aircraft feast that the Russians collected somewhere near the border of Ukraine. And let's try to understand what the Russians might plan to do, because they need to do something. As I told you a few days ago, yes, of course, the Russians are able to establish control over the entire Ukraine using this method, but they will be very slow, very slow. They will have to do this step by step, block by block, village by village, and it's a very big journey. So that's why they need to do something, how to change the situation and to force the front line to move. So the Russian collected something around 200 troops, paratroopers helicopters, and something around 150 attack helicopters. So 350 helicopters is around Ukraine. Maybe somewhere at the same place, maybe they're stretched all along the front line. But I suppose that all these helicopters, at least the major part of these helicopters, are placed at the same place. I don't think that the Russians are planning to start their paratroopers or VDV operation somewhere near Kiev. It's very far from the mainland, and they will have to take control over the north of Kiev one more time, so this is not an option. Also, I don't think that the Russians, if they do any helicopter operation, like paratrooper operation, I don't think that they're going to do this somewhere in the area between Chernihiv and Kharkiv. Because anywhere, like the tactic of any helicopter operation, you need to throw your forces. Let's say if the Russians do this helicopter operation, this paratrooper operation near Kharkiv, let's say the only reason they need to do this, I don't think that it's very valuable, very smart, let's say, to send helicopters towards Zolochov. There is no progress in that, but they will lose their effect. So if, let's say, the Russians decide to encircle Kharkiv using the helicopters operation, trying to send 16,000 soldiers in any direction, let's say they need to do this somewhere here. But on the town Lubutin, Korotych, Pisochin, Merefa, in this area, let's say the Russians send their helicopters. But in this case, they need to hold this bridgehead as long as possible while the main forces from the mainland reach this area, and after that, this small island will establish some connection with the mainland. But according to information we know, we have this very powerful fortification, and the Russians won't be able to crack this area before get this small bridgehead. So that's why I don't think that the Russians are planning to do something like this near Kharkiv. The same situation here in the Donbas operation. All this area is totally fortified. So let's say if the Russians decide to send some helicopters, let's say somewhere here or near Barvenkovo, and after that they decide to move in this direction, I'm not sure that they are able to crack this fortification, and their forces will be reduced by the Ukrainians who will stand there, and the forces, that paratroopers that were sent somewhere in the back of Ukrainian forces, will be encircled and reduced as well. The same situation near Avdiivka. There is no reason to do any helicopter operation, VDV or paratrooper in this area, because there are also a lot of fortification, and it's very difficult to break the front line and to get to reach the main forces. The same situation in the south of Ukraine, from Zaporozhye towards Donetsk. To tell the truth, there is no value from these territories. So if the Russians even establish control over some territory, it gives them nothing. So there is no need to do any helicopter operation and so on. And now we are moving to the Donetsk, to the Kherson, Odessa, Nikolaev area. And if we're talking about this area, I suppose that to do some helicopter paratrooper operation in this area is a pretty nice idea. Let's discuss how the Russians can use this operation and how can they plan and do this operation to send some forces in the back and trying to encircle or cut something. We see that the Russians activated their offensive operation in direction of Nikolaev. But if we're talking about helicopter operation, like paratrooper operation, I suppose that this is not the main attack of the Russians. The only thing they need and they try to do with this attack is just to pin the Ukrainians down in this area and not to allow them to move their forces in other direction. Like to pin them down and to force Ukrainians to choose what to do, or to save Nikolaev, or to do something else in some other place. The best solution for the Russians, if they do really have collected something around 200 of paratroopers, like marine helicopters, and 150 attack helicopters, plus 400 aircrafts who are able to pin down anything around this area. Of course, the best solution for the Russians in this case to send their helicopters in the area in direction of town Radilna, this one. So the Russians are sending helicopter group somewhere here and using aircraft, using attack helicopters, they're trying to pin down everything around this area. All anti-air forces, anything they can. And with help of 16,000 soldiers in this area, the Russians will be able very fast, because it's a very back, and I don't think that there are a lot of Ukrainians, and I'm not sure that fortification in this area are prepared. So I don't think that the Ukrainians are able to hold the Russians, or to keep them, or to fight, or to stand against them. So with help of this operation, the Russians will be able to establish some bridgehead in this area very soon, very fast. Furthermore, if you take a look at this area, there are a few airports. This one, a little bit on the south. And furthermore, the most important and the most valuable situation from this operation is that the Russians will have access to Transnistria or Pridnestrovia. And there are a lot of towns, a lot of civilians, a lot of warehouses, depot, and the Russians are able to get some support from this area easily. And of course, this is not the only option the Russians should do, because anyway, if the Russians establish control over this area, the Odessa still will have some support from the mainland. So for these purposes, another group of the Russians should be sent in this area. And by attacking this area, let's say, the Russians will be able to cut Odessa from the mainland by establishing some bridgehead in this area. There are also some airports, but the most important that by taking these two bridgehead, the Odessa will be encircled, and there would be no connection with the mainland, and the only connection would be through the European countries. And to tell the truth, the Ukrainians need to use this bridge, and as you know, this bridge were already destroyed, so we can say that Odessa will be totally cut from the mainland. Furthermore, the Russians still are able to attack Nikolaev, and they will fix this town. And if we're talking about these forces, I suppose that this trade deal that the Russians Ukrainians signed to allow the Ukrainian trade ship to cross the Black Sea, I suppose that the main idea of this deal was for the Russian to understand where's the mines in this area. And with help of this, of course, the Russians are able maybe even to establish some support with this group that will locate it right in front of Odessa, and to help them, to support them, and maybe to cross the sea, this part of the sea, to get them some armor, supplies, because as you can see, this group will be cut from the mainland, and there would be no any other option how to support them. So these forces will have to stay. But it's not very difficult to defend in this area. As you can see, this area is located between two rivers, and there are a few ways how the Ukrainians can do some counter-offensive operation on this small neck, and I suppose that the Russians are able to keep this area, and somewhere in the north from this area. But if the Russians are able to bring some artillery system here, it's not a very big problem for them to stop any offense, any attack from the Ukrainians from any side. And to keep this area, while the main force from Radilna are going to move slowly to the west, to the east, and to the southeast, trying to make this encirclement less and less. So this is the only option I see, that if the Russians are planning to start some helicopter paratroop operation in the south, because attacking Nikolaev without suppressing and cutting Nikolaev from Odessa, it's maybe some kind of waste of time. Or maybe the Russians collected all these air forces just to force Ukrainians to be to scare them, or to make them feel uncomfortable, or so on. But anyway, as you can see, the front line is stable. The Russians are pushing, but very slowly. So let's see what's going to be next. And that's it for today. Military Summary channel reminds you that you can condemn any violence in Ukraine. Thank you for your watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Thank you. Bye bye.